This is Will Montgomery, former Washington Redskins center.
Yo, what's good, folks? This is Trey Johnson, the headbanger, yo, and you're listening to Mess Hall with Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. Word.
What's going on, Rally? Happy Victory Monday, man.
Week 18, Victory Monday. Who would have thunk it? That's right, I said thunk. Let's get it.
Not me. Not me at all. I actually ended up, when I was driving to Maryland getting all my tailgate stuff done, I was listening to the Washington Football Talk podcast, and the guys there put bets in. And Mitch Tischler, for those that don't know, he's on NBC Sports Washington, and he does the podcast with JP and Pete. He put a parlay in on the Cowboys to cover and the over. Over was 41. Thinking, Mitch, smart dude, knows what he's talking about. I ended up putting $20 down on the Cowboys in that parlay, and I am happy as hell that I got that wrong and just lit that $20 on fire, man.
Well, speaking of bets, so I told you that initially that I bet that we would win more than 7 games, and lo and behold, we won 8. So I'm happy with that, brother. So my money came in, and so I was happy about that. So I bet a parlay as well, and my parlay was CeeDee Lamb would get a touchdown, and Jahan Dotson would get a touchdown.
Oh,
we know that didn't happen.
You were close though, man. You were close. And
oh yeah, I felt that CD was going to get one. I just felt that he was, and I thought that Jahan's been. I felt the connection between Jahan and Sam, even though we hadn't seen much. But Jahan is just a dynamic receiver, and I figured that Sam has the arm to get the ball to him, so it could happen. And little did I know that ball went to Terry. And I ain't mad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad.
Oh, yeah.
Ball went to Terry versus Jahan, and we won the game, and we shut everyone down, including you and me.
Speaking of shutting down, man, and just shutting up, all those Cowboy fans. So I pulled in to the stadium at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to set up shop. I'm getting everything ready. It's just me hanging out there. And I'm listening to some Rage Against the Machine, thinking we're going to war today. So typically I'll listen to some old school hip hop or something like that while I'm getting everything set up by myself. Nah, I was ready to put some face paint on and just get at it on all those Cowboy fans.
Okay.
And next thing you know, the lots open up, and it is just blue and silver all around me. And I was blocking off parking spaces for my boys that were late, some stuck in traffic, some hung over. And Cowboy fans trying to move my stuff around. Like, you obviously didn't see that I put that there. I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but I got someone bringing me something. They're going to park right here. And it was just a sea of them. I mean, you obviously were walking around. What was it like, man? I mean, to me, it was 70-30 stands-wise them. But what was it like in the lots, Cowboy-wise?
I would say the same in the lots. And the running joke that I had was, thanks for coming and stimulating our economy. We greatly appreciate it. We need renovations at Fedex Field, so we greatly appreciate you guys coming in and helping us out with that. And so it was just a laughing joke. That's the good thing about fans. You got the majority of fans are fun-loving people, happy-go-lucky. They don't care one way or the other. Obviously, they want their team to win, but they're not there for the nonsense. You know what I mean? And then you've got the ones who just want to just start trouble. No matter where you go, you're gonna find it. So, but for the most part, I'd say 99.9% of the people there were just fun-loving Cowboy fans. And I know it's hard to even say that in the same breath, but it was just fun, and just the banter to go back and forth. And I said, listen, by all accounts, you guys are supposed to just mop the floor with us. I said, but at the same time, it's week 18, and you guys may look past us because of the playoffs. No, we're gonna do it. And I said, for your sake, I hope you're right, because I'm gonna come back to your tailgate and laugh at you. And so here we are at 9 o'clock at night later, just laughing at these guys. It was funny, man.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we typically take walk-up fans that come, because if you want to come to my tailgate, you got to RSVP. Right. RSVP shuts down on Friday at 9 a.m. So I get enough time to buy everything and get everything ready. And I'll typically have the sappy email of, I missed it. I just got tickets last minute. Can I show up? And the answer is, if you show up and we got space, then great. But I can't guarantee anything, because it's disrespectful to the people that actually took the time to save a spot for me to, you know, do you some favors. Well, we had some Cowboy fans walking up and asking, saying, hey, you know, can we help you out? The immediate answer out of my mouth was no, sorry, y'all welcome, but this ain't for you. You had to register ahead of time. One of the women actually gave me an attitude about it. I'm like, I'm not a restaurant. This is the tailgate we're hanging out here that we do for charity. And I felt like it was just going to be one of those days. And a couple of them actually tried to sneak back in line when I was cooking and doing something else, not thinking I would notice. So I went back over there and said, I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but y'all ain't welcome here. You can go hang out at some other tailgate. You got like thousands of other Cowboy fans to go eat their food. You ain't welcome to come eat mine. So, you know, goodbye, God bless, but not today. And I lost money at the tailgate yesterday, which is perfectly fine by me, because I wasn't taking that blood money, man. I don't need 30 pieces of silver from those Bamas.
You lost money. Dang, man. Okay.
I mean, it was our smallest tailgate of the year. And I knew that was going to happen. I just can't tone down the menu and take the integrity of it out of it. We've been doing the same thing for a while. So, you know, it is what it is, but it offsets from all the other games where we had some extra cash. It just means that one of the charities we're helping out isn't going to get as much as we had hoped. But, you know, if the team would have played better, then it would have been all right. But when you made it inside the stadium, did you get a chance to actually walk around? Because I ran into you, obviously. We were hanging out, having a good time. But I'm assuming you made it in well before I did. What was it like walking around the concourse and everything else?
Well, so I made my way. So once I left you, I made my way down toward I didn't go as far as the RV lots are concerned, because there are tailgates that I stopped. Okay. So now, see, I've never told you this before, but I make my way down. For everyone who wants to know the path of travel of the captain, I start in the red zone lot. And there's like just a zigzag memory pattern that I've been doing this for so many years, and to where people ask me to stop. So is a bunch of zigzagging, and it takes me down to roughly the RV lot. Okay. And I say hi to them, you know, we do a toast, whatever have you. Then I make my way back up toward, I don't even, you know what, I've been doing it so long from memory, I don't even know the pole designations. But then instead of going to the left, back where your tailgate is, I go toward the right, toward the players lot. Okay. So I make my way around the entire stadium. And so I went inside, didn't have any issues getting in, got on the main level and took pictures, kissed babies, the whole 9 yards. People, hey, you're that guy on TV. Yeah, you know, well, where's your W? You know, that was one of the biggest things. And so obviously they don't listen to the DMV Mess Hall, because I said that one game out of the season, I will honor the Redskins. And that's my way of doing it. I just happened to pick the last game of the season to do that. So nevertheless, had to give them a little understanding of what was going on, why I didn't have the W, but I had the Redskins on. And then I was able to finally make my way down the steps to my seat. And bro, sea of blue with burgundy and gold sprinkled in, which we knew this already. Oh yeah, we knew it was going to happen, and I didn't mind. It felt like an away game for a second, man. Even though I know I was at Fedex Field. So, but I had a great group of people sitting around me who were Cowboys fans, and we went back and forth with the banter, and it was just nice, man. It really was. And icing on the cake is us winning the game, you know, and sending them back home to wherever they came from with a lonely heart.
So I only had one Cowboy fan that I had an issue with, and I'm walking back down to my seats after hitting the head, because I can time it perfectly. We kick a punt, I can run. I go in through the exit door, not the entry door of the guy's bathroom. That way you get in faster, walk past everybody, boom, bam, got back to the row. this guy is just playing on his phone. So I immediately go down the alley on the left and just walk past him. And he gives me an attitude and starts yelling and cursing at me it's like, where's the fire? What the hell's the problem? Type of thing. I'm like, am I stopping you from looking at your phone? And he was just chirping with me, going back and forth. And all the diehards that sit around me, they're season ticket holders. They're not going anywhere. They had my back. But this guy was pushing up on me and just go back and forth. I'm like, today's not the day. You don't want to do this today. Then the kid realized he was in the wrong section and had to go 2 sections over because he just wasn't paying attention. But for the most part, the Cowboy fans around me, other than one woman that was a Cowboy fan that yelled at me to shut up, because when there was maybe 5 minutes left in the game, the stands, everyone started singing that nah, 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 hey, hey, hey. So I am standing on top of my seat, just waving goodbye to all the Cowboys fans, singing at the top of my lungs. Some of the Cowboy fans that were walking out, I actually escorted them up the actual stairs out of the section, saying goodbye, thanks for coming out, get the hell out of my stadium type of thing. And, you and I took a couple of shots, I'd probably had a couple of beers. I was just having a good time.
Yeah.
And I had to rewatch the game today because I missed a decent amount of the game just because I was talking with everyone around, and just one of our listeners came down and he and I were hanging out on one of the touchdowns and just chatting back and forth. So it was more of a social thing for me yesterday than actually watching the game, because we're not going to be back there until August. So I wanted to kind of soak it all in. And in my section, I didn't have to deal with as much blue and silver, maybe just because it's season ticket holders that didn't sell. But I was surprised. I had a couple friends that I introduced you to from different teams that showed up, and I needed 2 extra tickets for the game. So I put a tweet out there on Saturday saying, I need 2 tickets. I'll buy them. I'm not asking for free tickets. Man, I had easily 60 Commanders fans that just weren't going to the game, that were trying to dump their tickets and sell me their tickets. Some of them trying to make a lot of money off me. I'm like, one guy hit me up and said, here's a ticket, $300 each. Like, this ticket's going for $1.25 on StubHub, bro. It's like, I appreciate that, but I mean, come on now.
Yeah,
and
ain't happening. Come on.
No, we ended up actually getting a bunch of tickets donated to Warrior Wishes. So there were a dozen vets that came out with their families. So I appreciated all those people. And one of the Commanders coaches, who I won't say their name, they reached out, ended up sending me 4 tickets. So I was able to get my friends in the game and hang out and have a good time.
Nice.
So it worked out. But man, it was crazy. Dan Snyder wasn't at the game. Right?
No. Yeah.
Jerry Jones was, and he was walking through the stands, signing autographs and taking pictures, man. Did you see that video?
No.
It's crazy. And for those wondering, it's Monday, January 9th at 4:24 that we're recording this. I'll put the video up on our YouTube.
Yeah, please do.
Here it is. You can see Jerry Jones walking down. He's got the security people. And I guess he's just walking onto the field, because that's where you actually get onto the field. And he's just taking pictures and signing autographs with different fans. And it's just, it's crazy that the co-owner of this franchise wasn't there for Sonny Jurgensen's jersey retirement, number retirement, and that Jerry Jones is walking around like he owns a damn place. I mean, to me, that was embarrassing to see after the fact. We won. It doesn't matter. But to have their fans take over our environment and have Jerry probably feel more at home here than he does at all the other stadiums in the NFL was just a little bit ridiculous to me.
Well, I hear what you're saying. And at first I thought he kind of did it on purpose. But now that you say that, I do know that to get onto the field is kind of a janky process. So he's got to walk through the sea of fans to get to the field. Although I thought he may have come through the tunnel.
Typically they come through the tunnel.
Yeah,
there's a elevator that takes you right there, drops you right down. Boom, you come right out. He had to have been walking that lower concourse to go down that entrance. And those that haven't been before, it's one of the rows that come down, one of the sections that are on the Cowboy sideline. And you've got to walk to the 200 level, the 100 level, past the dream seats onto the field. Typically, you don't have ownership doing that. They're
Right.
coming in through their team tunnel and coming out that way. So I can only imagine if Jerry was sitting there walking around, pulling a rally, shaking hands and kissing babies while he's walking around the lower concourse, going to pick up some Johnny Rockets on the way to the stands.
Some paisanos, baby. Come on now. He had a
I
good
do
slice.
like some paisanos, man.
Oh, heck yeah. Shout out to Ford. Yeah, man. That's hey, I like some paisanos. But hey man, you're $1 billion owner. You do what you want to do. It's the last game of the season for us. So why not make everybody happy and shake hands? Now, this next week will be the last week for them, obviously, if they continue to play the way that they played. But I got to tell you, I was very happy with the way our guys played. And I know that we went back and forth with the whole Sam Howell thing, and I'm actually happy that he did play. Hey, the captain, one thing I've always said, if I make a mistake or if I'm wrong, I'm man enough to admit where I'm wrong. And on this one, I was wrong, and I was happy to see Sam play. I really was. And I'm actually happy that his name is in the QB mix. Now, granted, it's just one game, but from what he showed is what so let me go back a little bit for everybody that's been following us and for the ones who have not been following us. You said, I want to see what we have in Sam. And I said, Ted, I already know what we have in Sam because what he did last night was basically what he did in college. So that's what I meant from that side of the house. But as far as the professional side of the house, I understand that there was just this what do we have there? So, and I appreciate him balling out and maybe putting a little bit of the controversy to the side. But I know that there's still we've got a long way to go as far as that's concerned. But I was happy that we were able to see that arm that he has, then that Jahan should have caught one of those passes, and Terry should have caught a couple too. But hey, the fact is, we see that the kid, the arm, it relays into the pro level. He's got a rocket. He can get it done with his legs. He had a bonehead move in the end zone, but we expect that.
Well, he's a rookie. He's a fifth-round rookie for a reason. Those are the growing pains that you hope he grows out of. And some of the only ways to grow out of it is getting that experience and realizing. I went back and watched that play specifically, and there was nothing there. He was triple covered in the end zone, and you've got to walk away with at least 3. But who knows at that point if Joey Sly is even going to make the damn field goal? I mean, he was absolute trash yesterday and probably played himself off the roster, or if not, into a kicking competition next season. Because I mean, Joey left 7 points.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you look for a new kicker now, or do you just kind of, what do you do? But you
got to bring in competition. You've got to bring in someone to challenge him, and who's going to be there? Who knows? But at no point did he earn himself a spot to just coast next season and not worry about it at training camp. There's plenty of balls to be snapped to have a couple kickers come in and see what you can do. And, there have been a couple of games that were close, and a missed field goal here and there can definitely cost you. I mean, typically Commanders / Washington teams of the past, we all look at that missed extra point or missed field goal and thinking, this is why we're going to lose. We're going to lose by 1, or we're going to lose by 2. And that field goal would have helped us. Thank God it didn't hurt us yesterday. By any means, everyone stepped up, and it's just, the Cowboys were playing for something. They played their starters the entire game. Even though the Eagles were just trouncing the Giants, the Cowboys never let up. Dak had 37 attempts. He stayed in the entire time. I mean, Dak was 14 to 37 for $128 with a touchdown and an interception. He should have had, granted, he should have had 2 picks, if not 3 at that point.
They did eventually pull Dak.
Cooper Rush came in for 1 attempt.
2 minutes, I think.
Yeah. So
I think it was 2 to 5 minutes left in the game, and they pulled Dak. So yeah. It's
just, the thing is, we beat up on the Cowboys with their starters in and our backups in. Sam Howell was 11 to 19, for a $169 with a touchdown, an interception, and 3 sacks, which is, he's not lighting the world on fire. But the thing is, and Commanders fans need to calm down, because right now they're all yelling and screaming, Sam Howell's QB #1 next season. He's the future. They're treating it like how Heineke lost us that playoff game against the Buccaneers. This was not an iconic performance by this young man, but what I did see from Sam is he hits his receivers in stride. He gives them a chance to make plays after they catch. A majority of his throws were on point. They weren't behind guys. He showed poise in that pocket, and he used his legs when he needed to use his legs. He averaged 7 yards a carry on the ground. It was 5 for 35. And the offense seemed different with him in it. There was more read option. There was more threat of run.
Yeah.
You know, Scott maybe realized that, hey, I am play calling my future right now because it's Black Monday today. And if Scott didn't adapt his game plan for Sam, then best be sure his name would have been on the chopping block. But as of 4:30, he still has a job. So we'll see what happens. But I was happy, man. You know, the only person that I wanted more out of from an offensive perspective was Jonathan Williams. Jonathan had 14 carries for 32 yards. I wasn't impressed with him. I was happy as hell for Jarrett Patterson, though, man. Seeing him take advantage of what he had. And I sent a tweet out there when they brought Jarrett Patterson up from the practice squad and activated him, said, I can't wait to see him against a #1 Cowboys defense. And a couple of people replied saying, are you being sarcastic? No, I'm being realistically, because in the preseason, whenever he gets in, it's against 3rd stringers and 4th stringers that are in this league. And we saw what he could do against that #1 Cowboy defense.
Well, I remember him being in last year. He did pretty well. I mean, and if I'm where did he come from? Was it Syracuse or Rhode Island? It was one of those up north schools. I don't remember which one. It was, I think it was
Buffalo.
Syracuse. Okay, so so once again up north. So I wasn't too far out of the ballpark. But I enjoyed watching the kid last year. I enjoyed watching him when he did sprinkle in this year. And so it just goes to show you that once again, we have weapons that just need to be utilized. And I'm hoping that we can get some new guys from the offensive line and go to town, man. I know it's not going to be easy, but I know that there are linemen that are out on the market that are better than what we had. And one thing that I also noticed is I always talk about that quarterback internal clock. And back in school, it was E-I-E-I-O throw or E-I-E-I-O go. And that's what I saw from Sam. I love the fact that his reads were quick. I love that. He didn't hesitate. You know, it wasn't like, okay, if it wasn't there, he took off and did what he had to do, or that ball was out, man. And with the line, let's just say for all intents and purposes that they keep the same line, which I hope to
God no.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if they did, he has the mindset of getting the ball out to where it less impact on him as well as getting hurt, man. Because the ball was out. And let's face it, Dallas had their starters rushing. And
Parsons was in there. Man. I mean, they had, a couple of times. 2 of those sacks I'd say were on Sam, and 1 sack I'd say is on the offensive line. Sam, I mean, being a rookie, he showed poise at the press conference. He took blame for everything. Talked about how they left points on the table, talked about how he didn't do his offensive line any favors, and he held on to the ball too long, talked about how it was a boneheaded mistake on that interception. So, I mean, he is showing you all those things that you want to see. And Brian Mitchell on his show today, B's daughter works with the NFLPA, and he told a story on how his daughter met Sam Howell and how she met Jahan Dotson. And compared to all the other rookies that came in, she said a bunch of the other rookies were acting like high school kids. These guys were acting so respectful and like vets. And to me, some of that shows from their interaction with the media, their interaction with their teammates. I've got my own thoughts as to why Heineke didn't want to play. It comes out after the fact. Jeremy Fowler said that Taylor Heineke told Rivera to let Sam start. But the fact that, he had other players rooting for him and wanting him to play shows me that they felt that he was mature enough to be on this stage. And it turns out that Sam grew up a Cowboy fan. He kept that a secret from everybody until the post game. So knowing that after the fact, I'll forgive him. But, it's interesting to see what he did. What's that?
You forgave me.
That is true. That is true. All I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? It's just yelling and screaming that in the stands after they're getting their ass beat. But, you talk about the offensive line. We had Charles Leno play 100% of the snaps. He didn't miss a single snap the entire season. So hats off to Charles.
Definitely.
Granted,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. There were a couple snaps where he didn't play. He was actually on the field, but he didn't actually play. I can think of a Thibodeau one, that didn't actually help out. But Chris Paul came in at guard and played 100% of the snaps. Sam Cosmi was at tackle, and Trey Turner was out there. So, if that's going to be your offensive line, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Is Andrew Norwell going to be back? I don't know. But the big question is what's going to happen at center. For those of you that are wondering, Rally and I are going to do kind of a season wrap up and, preview for the offseason of what should and shouldn't happen and what we hope will and won't happen next week. But the O-line, they were pretty stout. And I'm shocked at how many snaps our ones took. Terry was in for 76% of the offense. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Jahan. Same thing with Logan Thomas. I was surprised that Cam Sims, only 18% of snaps. De'Ami Brown, 12% of snaps. I thought that we were going to see those kids more and see what they had and build on that De'Ami-Sam connection. So I'm kind of surprised that that's the game plan. And to me, that shows that Rivera really wanted to win this game. It wasn't about getting experience for some of the young bucks. It was about getting to 500 for him.
Well, what I was going to say is I think that, yes, he wanted to win the game. But one thing about Rivera is he'll say one thing and do something else. And for the life of me, and I'm cooling my jets, so to speak, but for the life of me, I think that he really wanted to see the connection between Howell, Jahan, Terry, and Curtis. Even though Curtis didn't really do much of anything, but he wanted to see that because I'm telling you, man, I feel that he's going to be right now. He's projected to be the QB1. He just is.
Slow your roll down there a little bit.
I'm slowing my roll, but what I'm trying to get at is he could have brought in De'Ami. He could have brought in more of Cam. He could have done exactly what you said, but he wanted to see if the kid could do what he needed to do to possibly elevate him to be QB1. I'm not saying that he is, but there's only one reason why you keep those guys in like that, and it's to see what, as you, Ted, you of all people told me all last week, you gotta see what the kid is gonna do. Oh, yeah. And I said, no. So now we understand, I think, and this is just Rally, I think that we're putting ourselves in a position to keep him, to see if he could be, not that he is, to see if he could be. Because now, what does that do as far as the salary cap is concerned? What does that do as far as draft picks are concerned? So that we can get more. If we've got something here, we don't need to spend more to get more. So,
agreed. Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. I think that's the reason why he kept them in. Like you said, we thought that we were going to see more of the younger guys. I need to see what we truly have to be able to make my mind up to even go in the direction that I think that we need to go into it. And that's my thought from Rivera.
This is actually what Rivera said about QB1 next year.
Okay.
Obviously, it's incredibly premature to discuss his future, and you said the other day you're going to watch this game and see. But that said, do you think he showed you enough to be either in the first QB1 or QB2 possibly next year?
Well, I'll definitely say he'll be QB. I won't give you a number yet because we'll get through the evaluation process this week. Once we get through this week, and we'll just talk about some of the stuff later on. But for the most part, this will be an evaluation. We'll get a chance to watch the game, break it down, talk about it going forward, and then talk about some of the things that that we need to most certainly focus in on going into the off season.
So I was on Fox 5 this morning, and those that missed it, it'll be on my Instagram later on today. I still got to edit up the video, but they were asking me, what should we do at quarterback next year? And my answer back to the anchors was, we should draft a quarterback. There are no good quarterbacks that I want to trade for. One of the anchors mentioned Derek Carr. We talked about it on one of our past shows. What I don't want is this front office and regime to give up draft picks for a quarterback from someone else's team, to give up picks for a quarterback that isn't working in someone else's system. And I am 1,000% on board with you about salary cap and everything else. The good news is Carson Wentz, they're cutting him, and he's going to count against 0 for the salary cap. Taylor Heineke, free agent. So his number's not on the salary cap. If we could go into the offseason and go into next season with Sam Howell competing with another rookie, then that means that gives you more money to pay Deron Payne. That gives you more money to pay Montez Sweat. So, a lot of people are saying, was this Heineke's last game? Well, this is actually what they talked to Rivera about Heineke when he was leaving the stadium yesterday.
Taylor Heineke, you look pretty emotional coming off the field.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk to him at all during the
No, well, not since getting off the field, but he's a heck of a football player, and he's a part of what we're doing, and he handled himself this week about as admirably as you can.
So I really feel that Heineke's not going to be here. I don't know why he would want to be here. And those that are wondering about my Jeremy Fowler comment, Heineke told Rivera to let Sam start the game and play the game. And you can look at this one of two ways. Him being a good big brother and wanting Sam to get that experience that he needed, or Heineke playing this from a business perspective. You benched my ass for Wentz because you said he was going to give you a spark. And now you want me to come in and fix your mess and play behind a makeshift offensive line against the Dallas Cowboys heading into the offseason. No, thank you, Ron Rivera, because all I'm going to do is risk my potential payday and contract with either this other team. So no, I don't want the ball. I don't want to start. Let Sam start. I'll be the backup. And for me, it was the latter. Heineke did not want to play against the Cowboys because he didn't want to risk getting hurt. He knew what Micah Parsons did to Carson before and everything that happened. Why go in there? And this is actually a quote that Nikki Javala has that Heineke said today during cleanout day. And I quote, "I've thought about it a little bit. Being a starter is great. You want to keep playing ball. But at the same time, I fully embrace the backup job. You don't obviously get hit as much. But just to be a part of this team and to help in any way you can to try and get to that ultimate goal of the Super Bowl, I just want to be on the team. And again, 2 years ago, I was on the couch. So being on the team is everything to me. And I don't think Taylor's going to be here. I think he's going to be in another locker room, whether it's as a backup or as a starter someplace, because there aren't enough good quarterbacks in this league. And I don't think he's starting material. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does in a different system. I just hope that Rivera and the Martys do what's right for the long term of this franchise. And in my mind, that is drafting some kids, bringing some guys in to compete with Howell.
Well, I differ with you, Ted. I think Taylor is a starting QB, providing that I'm just going to throw this name out, providing that he went someplace like Shanahan, who would cater an offense around his skill set. I think that if instead of trying to force that doggone, square peg in a round hole, I think that he could actually start somewhere. The fact is, we want to try to always force a guy to do something that may not be his skill set. So if somebody can build an offense around him the way that and realize what he can do and what he can't do, I think he can start. So who knows? And we've seen it before. So it could happen. It may not happen here, but and if this was his last game, hey, my hat goes off to you, Taylor. It really does, because you did what you needed to do to tell your story from us. It goes back to what I said as far as Rivera. I feel if Rivera was to move on, my hat's off to him too, because he came in and did what he needed to do for this franchise to turn it around. So, hey, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, no matter what, we're still going to ride and we're going to go ahead and figure this out. But I believe, from what I saw, that Sam will be QB1. I just do, because he gave us that Heineke feeling against Tampa Bay. Playing
He
against
has
the Cowboys.
the moxie. I get that, but
Yeah.
you can't. I cannot make the determination if he is good enough to be the franchise quarterback for this team in 60 minutes of football. It's just way too early. And
Well,
you know,
he had the so going back to our past show, I said the kids only had 3 days of starts. And look what he did.
Practice. 3 days of practice.
I'm sorry, three practice. Three with the ones. And look what he did. Even though Dallas was okay, so this was the Dallas Cowboys. Yes. At the same time, as I always tell you, I am a believer in body language. And the body language said that they had moved on until next week. They looked past us. Their body of work said, hey, yeah, okay, we're playing, and we know we want to win, but at the same time, hey, we got Tom Brady next week. These guys aren't in it. We need to go ahead and shore up some things. So they really weren't playing like I think that if it was week 4 or week 5.
They were playing for the NFC East. They were playing for the division.
Yes, they were. But once they got punched in the mouth, Ted, it's like their body language went away. Once they got punched in the mouth, their body language looked for me to say, all right, let's focus on freaking Tampa Bay.
Well,
That's
think
what
Mike
it said
McCarthy,
to me.
Yeah, I think their head coach, McCarthy, is one of the worst head coaches in the NFL. The fact that he has a job, I don't get. I think I basically put him and Rivera as equals. I don't think they're good head coaches. They just have better weapons. I mean, Dak Prescott was complete trash. 14 to 37. I mean, I don't know how many balls. He threw a pick to Kendall Fuller that he dropped. Yep. And the very next play, threw it right back at him. That K. Full brought it back for a pick 6. I mean, he wanted to throw an interception, so he just did it as many times as he could. I mean, Zeke he had 8 carries for 10 yards. He had 1.3 average. Tony Pollard, 7 for 19. I mean, our defense played. I mean, Khaleke Hudson came in and had, I think it was 7 tackles. Mm-hmm. Danny Johnson had 7 pass defenses. Khaleke had 7 tackles. I mean, the guys were balling out. And it's just frustrating because you keep hearing this game meant nothing. No, I'm sorry. If you're in this area, you're from here, you're a fan, this game meant everything. And Scott Abraham from Channel 7 asked Ron Rivera, where was this intensity the week before against the Cleveland Browns in a game that meant something? And this was Rivera's answer.
Ron, there seemed like there was an intensity and a focus here tonight from this team that was maybe lacking last week. Why do you think
No, don't tell me it was lacking last week. They came out to play, and they played hard. They played their asses off last week. We just got beat. Don't say those guys. These guys have played hard all year. Okay? Please don't do that. Okay? They played their asses off today as well. Last week it just didn't work. This week it did work.
I'm sorry, but they did not play their asses off last week. If anyone watched that game, you could see that they had zero energy. You talk about body language constantly. It was atrocious. Mm-hmm. So it's a very fair question from Scott. And Rivera tries to jump down his throat so he doesn't get any follow-up questions and to try and intimidate the reporters out there. Sorry, Ron, you're wrong. Your team played like when you had the playoffs on the line that you didn't even realize you could get knocked out of at that game. And it's so frustrating because you see the potential here. You see, Doc Walker, next man up mentality. You had David Mayo come in for Jamin Davis, who had 7 tackles and did a good job. John Ridgway come in for John Allen that did a damn good job. I mean, there was Benning Potae. Who the hell is that guy?
Well, I've seen him. I've seen him on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I've seen him, and I actually, so in camp, I like what I saw from him. But obviously, he's behind Allen or Payne, so he wasn't getting in. But I in the practice squad, I did like what I saw from him. So I was happy that he was able to get a piece.
And it's just, to me, that's coaching. You have these guys that are quote unquote playing for nothing. No, they're playing for a contract. They're playing to put film up for a different team, because there's going to be roster turnover. We don't know player-wise who's going to be here. We don't know coach-wise who's going to be here. But the guys that came in and the way they stepped up, it was just such a great sight to see. The fact that Chase Young played as many snaps as he played yesterday, I was surprised to see Chase out there. Chase played 70% of snaps. Montez, 69%. Deron Payne, who was going to get paid, played 84% of snaps. I mean, it was just so great to see, but also to have those young guys come in to kind of offset that. And that intensity was there. It felt like a rivalry game. And when Dallas, and I missed this, that's why I had to catch it on the rewind when I watched the game today, the fact that, their first punt, their punter just completely whiffed on the ball and we ended up getting it. And Chris, Sip Holmes was there, and the muff punt, Tress Way putting that English on that thing. And it's just, it felt like everything was bouncing our way other than Joey Slide missing those kicks. I mean, it was just our day. And maybe some of that was, like you said, we punched them in the mouth and they didn't want to take it anymore, but the guys were ready. And it was just so great to see. And it's a victory Monday. Oh, yeah. And I couldn't be happier. It's just also frustrating knowing that we could be in the postseason, but we didn't do what we needed to do last week against a far less superior opponent in the Cleveland Browns. But the Dallas Cowboys, the 5th seed, we were able to punch them right in the mouth.
And not only that, Ted, what this does for us, even though I think we're when we say it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't mean anything because we weren't able to go to the playoffs. I think that's where it stops. That's what it didn't mean anything. But for all those fans who came out to the game, it meant something. For the people at home, watching the game, it meant something. And what I mean by that is now we ended the season with a win and not a loss. So ending the season with a win, just even though they say it doesn't transfer over to next season, I feel pretty good about our chances and what I saw for this last game. It just puts it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't transfer to 2023 to later this season, but it just feels good that we were able to close the game out with a win. And to say that instead of you guys sweeping us, we split.
Yeah, that means a ton. And, I wanted Sam to get the start because I wanted Sam to get the experience. We talked about speed of the game. And this is actually what Sam said during his presser.
Sam, in the preseason, you talked about the speed of the game being the biggest adjustment for you. How did you feel about that today?
Yeah, I felt like, it went pretty smooth. I thought I made good decisions for the most part. But I think it's really just a credit to our practice this week. I think we had a really good week of practice. That gave me a lot of confidence coming into the game, and I think the game was honestly slowed down for me as it went on, obviously. But really, it's just a credit to really our defense. They gave us good field position all night. Special teams made some plays, and our O-line played their tails off. They were moving the guys in the running game, and in the pass game, they did a good job. I think we had a couple sacks that, a couple of those were on me. So really, it's just my teammates being around me and making plays all night.
And that is what translates for me, for him to understand that and to go through his progressions. And I'm sure it was a dumbed down playbook compared to what Scott Turner's been calling. I mean, Chris Cooley has been just going after Scott Turner on the Kevin Sheehan podcast. And if you guys don't listen, make sure to check that out after you listen to us, obviously. But Cooley calls it like he sees it and has just basically been eviscerating Scott Turner, saying it's, some of the, and I'm paraphrasing, but some of the worst play calling he's seen. And, for Sam to be able to take advantage of this opportunity, got a long way to go. We were still 3 for 14 on third down. But the thing is, he has the arm, he has the attributes of a starting quarterback. He commanded the huddle. There weren't any offensive penalties that were ridiculous. I'm looking at penalties here. We were 2 for 10. You didn't see any illegal procedure penalties and things like that. There was a false start, but that's not on Sam. And there were 2 ineligible man down the fields. That's not on Sam.
No.
Typically, a rookie quarterback coming in, you get delays of game. You get guys not lining up properly. You didn't have any of that. So that, to me, showed the maturity that he has been in this system through all of OTAs and minicamp and got guys where they were supposed to be. We have had so many games with penalties here and there, left and right, and Sam took charge. And it's just, like I said, I need to see more, but we have an entire offseason and an offseason program for that, and hopefully a competition to see that. But kid's got the arm.
Definitely.
He's got the legs. Does he have the head to take this in? And if and when things do go wrong, how does he handle that adversity? We talked about Carson. Carson's got it, but mentally, he's got it physically, but mentally he doesn't. And when it goes wrong, he shuts down. So how is Sam going to handle that adversity? Imagine, take this back. Clinton Portis' first carry as a Redskin was a house call. Sam Howell's very first touchdown in the NFL was a freaking very first pass in the NFL was a touchdown.
A tutty.
It was a major tutty. It's just, it's crazy, man. And did you see what Terry McLaurin did after he caught that ball and threw it?
He threw it in the stands.
Yeah, man. So that's Sam. Just, I guess he didn't, he's still a young buck at that point, so didn't kind of really complain. So they had to negotiate with the fan that got the Sam Howell touchdown ball because Sam wanted to have that ball. It's his first ever NFL throw / touchdown.
Yeah.
So during the game, while it's going on, they brought Sam another ball to autograph so they could exchange it with the fan that was sitting in the end zone that caught his touchdown ball. And if I'm that person, no, Terry, you just threw this out here. You're going to give me a Terry McLaurin jersey. You guys are going to give me season tickets. You're going to get me free
look
parking.
at you. Look at you. Come on, you. Man. I need a Porsche and
no, that's a little much. It eats up way too much gas. But, it's just, you got a little bit of leverage here. I'm not saying, milk Sam for it, but you can milk Terry a little bit. He just got paid, and I'm glad that Sam got that first ball. This is actually what he said about his first NFL pass.
Your very first NFL pass went for a touchdown?
Yeah, that was awesome. Obviously, I didn't ever think it would happen like that, but just credit to our defense and our special teams for making a play and getting us the ball down there. And I just tried to go through my progression, and Terry was open on the shallow route, so just tried to give him a good ball, and he did the rest. So it was a super cool moment.
And he talks about going through his progression. The All-22 is not out yet, but from rewatching today, there were a couple times when he had a couple checkdowns when he knew nothing was there, and those guys made, what they could out of nothing. It's just, It was great to see. You just hope that this translates down the road. To me, the big what if is who is going to call plays next year. And some of the rumor, and I don't know if you saw the article that came out, but Sam Fortier had an article in the Washington Post, players coming out against Scott Turner publicly.
I didn't read it, but I heard the rumblings of it. I've been real busy doing some other things, so I didn't read it, but I heard about it.
It's a good article. If anyone out there hasn't had a chance like Rally to see it, Sam Fortier, it's Sam4TR on Twitter, and Sam is one of the beat reporters and writes for the Post. You have players basically coming in talking about how Scott Turner's play calling is really been suspect. They don't understand what he was doing. And players are frustrated with offensive play calling. None of the players gave their names. They wanted to be anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
But Logan Thomas actually said, Logan Thomas, tight end, was asked whether he thought the play calling put players in the best position to succeed. And he said, the way I put it is, we got so much talent, we should be scoring more points than we have been, he told reporters. 9 other commanders who spoke on the condition of anonymity to be candid about a coach expressed frustration with the play calling. They complained about predictability and abandonment of the game plan against Cleveland and Turner's tendency to deviate from plays that are working, which several players described as a coordinator outsmarting himself. And this is just some of the stuff that we have been yelling and screaming about, that a lot of the fan base has been yelling and screaming about, is Scott Turner is an issue. Scott Turner is a problem. But the problem is they extended Scott Turner this past offseason. So Scott's contract matches up with Ron's contract. What do? You keep Scott or you chuck him?
Let's just say that we're going to have a meeting in my office and we're going to talk about some things. And then based upon his answers, we'll go from there.
Yeah. And Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew they're not meeting with anyone today. So the postseason press conference is on Tuesday, and we'll be watching that, and we'll cut up clips for it and actually play those in our next show. But Rivera is going to be evaluating his coaching staff. Today's Black Monday, and a majority of coaches, that don't do well get fired today. And I said on Fox, I don't see Rivera going anywhere. We've said it on our show multiple times. I don't see that happening just because of the ownership situation. Does he have the ability to fire Scott Turner? I don't know. I don't know if that has to be a Dan call. And his yacht tracker had an update on Dan's yacht the other day. I got to see where that thing is right now. I want to say it was like off the coast of Spain. So Dan's not around. Obviously, he wasn't at the game. Tanya was there, but Dan wasn't. It was just kind of interesting. But to me, if you do let Scott Turner go, then I give Ken Zampese, the quarterback coach, a next shot at calling plays. I think he's earned it. I think he's got the pedigree. I think he can do it. And I love to see him get a chance. He's been with the Rams and Dick Vermeil, the greatest show on turf, the Bengals, the Browns, and he actually did a stint in the AAF as a play caller there. So it'd be nice to see Coach Zampese get a call up. I hope that's what happens if Scott's gone, because he knows the system, he knows the offense, and he knows the assets at hand. To me, that's what's most important.
Well, Ted, the only thing that I can say is don't be surprised if the LA coach comes here. I'm playing.
I hear you. I had the guys on Fox say that to me this morning too.
I'm playing. He's not coming back.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's not coming back. But the fact of the matter is, we've got an opportunity to do some things internally that I think need to happen to show stability within the organization. And if Scott goes, okay, he goes. If he stays, as I said, we having a talk in my office, and we're gonna figure out a way to I'm not gonna say dumb it down, but just because nobody wants to be called dumb, but I want to be able to streamline it a little better and go that route, because our guys are smart enough to be able to pick it up, but you got to be able to give me better situations. If I give you certain situations, I need to hear what you're going to call and not some off the wall crap, and then so this it could be his last year, hypothetically, this 23 season. If by chance, once we're in this meeting and you're answering all my questions the right way, and then after the 23 season, we go back and look, and you say, well, you answered the question this way. You didn't do that. So I got to let you go, since this is a performance-based league.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is actually what Ryan Fitzpatrick said in a quote from Thursday Night Football about Scott Turner's scheme. Fitzpatrick criticized Turner's scheme, saying it contrasted with the adaptable, player-friendly offenses popular in the modern NFL. This is a plug-and-play system, said Fitzpatrick, who played briefly for Washington in 2021, they're not going to dial up plays and make up something that would suit Carson's game, or maybe something that would suit Terry's game to get him the ball early. And this is what Fitzpatrick said during the pregame before that Bears game that you and I were at up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a problem. And that's what some of the players were coming out saying about Scott Turner, how his play calling just does not seem fluid and he does not scheme things up. One of the players specifically mentioned the flea flicker that Scott Turner called after B-Rob carried the ball for 7 yards on first down, and then it's 2nd and 3, and you call a flea flicker in your own territory. It's just things like that that show you that he is trying to outsmart himself and other coaching staffs, and it just has not worked. And Ron Rivera is supposed to meet with Dan Snyder perhaps on Monday next week. So he's going to sit down with Dan
on the
next
yacht.
week. I don't know. Maybe he'll, get one of the private jets to fly him to wherever the yacht is, and then he'll hop on a helicopter. I don't know, but they're supposed to meet next week to kind of talk about the future and what's happening. And I'm not holding my breath for any major coaching changes or any changes, period, just because of the ownership situation so up in the air.
Yeah.
I do hope that we have some commitment to still do what's right from a player situation, because when free agency starts and when you're gonna have to start extending guys, I mean, to me, a lot of that is going to depend on who's writing those checks. And if I am willing to buy this team, I want to make sure that you don't, clean the cupboard out, so to speak, of all my good players, because you didn't want to sign them and pay them any money. So who knows what'll happen there. It's going to be interesting. But to me, I don't want to say it's obvious Dan is checked out, but it's telling the fact that he wasn't at the game. Mm-hmm. And Rick Snyder, who we've had on the show before, actually sent a tweet out saying that Jack Kent Cook wasn't at the last game as well. So, it was just kind of interesting with everything that happened there.
Yeah. And, we're not going to be on the rumor mill, but I mean, the writing is kind of on the wall. It really is. And hats off to Mrs. Snyder for being there. She stuck it out, although she wasn't at, I want to say, the second to the Browns game. At least that's what I was told. I don't know for sure. So if she was, I will retract that statement. But if she wasn't, that's telling, man. It is. That's telling. It really is. And that there are times when you got to read the writing between the lines. And so if it does happen, I want it to happen sooner than later. I really do. And I know it probably can't happen until March, but if by chance February we could find out something, like Super Bowl week, and the reporters at Reporters Row at Super Bowl, and breaking news, and all of a sudden, boom, I could see that happening.
That's what I'm hoping. And it's one of those things where, you go back and forth. Have you ever sold a house? And for those that have ever sold a house can maybe get this. You go back and forth with the buyers, and the buyer basically says, I will buy your house if you take care of these last couple of things, fix the gutters, do whatever else.
Yeah.
So maybe because the NFL owners have to approve a deal. The next owner meeting is March 26th, March 27th, I believe, in Arizona. So you could come to terms in February, and you could say, I'm going to do all these things. We're good to go. Handle that. And then the paperwork officially gets signed at the end of March. So some of those terms, some of those things could be offer a contract extension to Deron Payne. Do this, do that to put the team in the best situation to win next season. And then when I buy the team from you, I will throw you his signing bonus. I'm not sure if legally that's what can happen or what's going on, but we're talking pennies for billionaires at this point.
Yeah.
And it's those off-season questions for me that matter the most. What's going to happen with your players? What's going to happen with the guys that you should keep, the guys that you should extend 50-year options? And we'll find some of that out tomorrow during Ron and Martin Mayhew's press conference. I mean, I think it was that press conference last year that Martin Mayhew threw Brandon Sheriff under the bus.
Under the bus.
Saying that we offered Brandon X amount of money and he didn't want to take it. And I don't blame. At that point, you knew Sheriff was gone when Mayhew publicly did that.
Yeah.
And Mayhew since apologized for that. But sometimes they talk a little too much. And we always like to say less is more. But I'm hoping they're, just hammered and they let spill all the beans tomorrow when they're talking to media. So it's going to be interesting.
Man. Well, I can see Ron going on the yacht on the IMAX theater with the clicker, about Scott Turner. Dan.
just show that flea flicker. That's all you got to do.
Yep. He flies him in. He flies him in for one play and then flies him out again. It's just
it'd be interesting to see what happens, man. But it was a great game nonetheless. And we beat Dallas. We ended up 8-1. You hit your bet. I was actually going to take that bet of a win total, but when I wanted it, it was at 6.5. And I felt good at 6.5. And then when I actually got to the casino, they changed it to 7.5. And I didn't feel comfortable at 7.5 looking at the schedule. So I'm happy that you got yours and you hit that. And, hopefully it'll help us pay for some of those away games, because the away game schedule is out and we'll preview that on another show. Cause I kind of want to get your early kind of predictions with, obviously it's not going to count for anything because we don't know when in the season we're playing them and when our bye weeks are and short weeks and this and that. But I am curious to kind of run down that with you. But with that being said, who do you give your rally chain to? And we said our signature performance had to come from, it's the first time we both took the same player, but it had to come from Sam Howell.
Yep.
But who gets your rally chain for the game?
Ditto, Sam. He fifth round start backup. He came in and he did what he needed to do, albeit made some mistakes, but ultimately he helped us win the game. So it goes to him.
Yeah, Sam had a heck of a game, man. And just to not pick the same guy you're going with, I'm giving mine to Jarrett Patterson.
Jarrett Patterson.
So happy for that young man. And I hope he put up enough film because it was the NFL game of the week on Fox. You had other people watching that game. I hope he put up enough and showed enough to earn a regular roster spot someplace else, because we don't have room for him here. We've got Antonio Gibson, who actually got foot surgery, which is a little concerning, but we've got AG, we got B-Rob here, and they got JD McKissick. So there isn't room for Jarrett here. I hope that Jarrett put up enough tape and showed enough in that game to get a chance to go to camp someplace else and get a chance to play someplace else and actually earn himself a spot, because he can play. And I would love to see him succeed. I don't care if it's in burgundy and gold. He's from this area, and you want to root for those kids that are from here.
I think he'll be back, Ted.
I hope he isn't, for his sake, because he's not going to surpass those three guys.
Yeah.
He's not going to be RB2 or RB3 in the system.
I think he'll be back, bro. That's just me. Time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will tell what happens with Jarrett. It'll tell what happens with Sam. It'll be interesting to see what happens with just really this entire franchise, because everything is so up in the air. But the good news is, as a fan base, we get knocked down, but we're constantly getting back up again. And I can't wait to do that and focus on this offseason and see how these guys actually bounce back from getting punched in the mouth this 2022 season.
And as we're wrapping this up, for the first time, I've got to say, shout out to the organization on not bungling Sonny Jurgensen's jersey retirement ceremony. I got to tell you, you guys did a great job. And so we ended the season with a win on both levels. And I always tell you guys, thank you so much for watching, listening, subscribing. And when you watch, it helps the algorithm help us. So keep it up, and we will be seeing you guys sometime next week with the season recap. Love you guys for listening. And remember, you guys, rep it hard, or don't rep it at all. Rally Captain, Tailgate Ted, ending the 2023 season for the last time. We're out.